Good morning, Her Spirit team. So, as usual, we've got a 5-minute wait time just to let people check in. We've got one person drop in. So as you drop in, just ping a small message, just say hello, good morning, so I can see who's here. And in particular, if you're brand new to A, the app, and B, the iMoveFreely classes. So I think we've been really picking up some steam over the last week or so. And so we had a great meeting the other day, all of the coaches, about moving forwards and how fantastic we're all finding this app in keeping us motivated and healthy and fit and with a strong mindset about the weeks ahead. So just type hello. We've got about 3 guys in there. Now, I'm aware that there are often people who come in and they don't say anything, which is fine. There is no pressure. This is an inclusive app where you can interact as much or as little as you like. But maybe today, for those who never post, maybe today is the day that you're going to post and say something. Maybe join in a little bit and maybe just introduce yourself. Just say, hi, my name is... we've got Holly. Morning, Holly. So what you'll be pleased to know is that at the end of this week, this Friday morning iMoveFreely session is going to be all about taking our time, and I want you to feel and enjoy movement. So we are going to do sort of combinations of release techniques and then strength work, but the strength work is more about staying stable and in control rather than getting a sweat on. Morning, Mel. So I know that some of you have been enjoying those sweaty classes, which is fantastic. I know that Michelle's cycle classes are going down a storm, Mel's strength classes, Fiona's core classes, and all the other guys as well. So it's about finding an ebb and flow through the week of different levels of classes, and each will have a different type of benefit. And so we want to make sure that we're getting a combination of movement, mindsets, so the meditation sessions, the yoga sessions with Soph, and then the cardiovascular training, so that we get this strength, cardio, mindset balance. Morning, Sarah. Good to have you along. So it's really important that we don't think of exercise as always being that full out, hard out kind of battering the body. Particularly in present times, what we need to do is make sure that we get that level-headedness, that calm in terms of the things that we can control. Good morning. Do I pronounce your name Kirgi? Sorry, I do apologise. Kirgi, great name. Never heard that one, so my apologies if I'm saying it wrong, but welcome in. I'm going to call you K, capital K. So for this morning session, again, just a little mat, little space. We're also going to use a seat or a sofa just for a little different feel on those glides. I want you to be able to see how some of these techniques... Kirsty, oh right, okay. And then you've got the nickname Kirsty, okay, interesting one. You're still K now. I kind of give people initials. Helen is a H, Holly is a H, Mel is an M. So sofa, and then also either if you have a resistance band, great. If you don't, then maybe a bottle or something as a resistance tool. If you've got a kettlebell, a wine bottle, something to give a little bit of resistance into the back of the shoulders when we do the shoulder series. So keep checking yourselves in. You can have some water. This shouldn't be too sweaty. Okay, it's fine by me. Been renamed. Now you can interact as I'm doing the session, but I won't be reading back until we get to the end, and then I'll come back and I'll check in. So I'm assuming that you can all hear me by Kay's response to what I'm saying, and the fact that nobody's saying you're going, and we can't hear you. So how's your mindset as we come to the end of... Is this our second week? I feel like it's been like 5 months already, but I think this is this the end of our second week now? Lisa, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So anybody else who hasn't said hi yet, no pressure, but it'd be nice to see who's in And if anybody, if this is their first time with iMoveFreely, then do let me know. Just a disclaimer, as always, if you're brand new to the app, if you're brand new to exercise, it would be really sensible to get yourself checked out and cleared to exercise. Mainly if you've got any medical conditions, if you're pregnant, if there's anything going on. If you're relatively fit and healthy, then you're good to go. But please be sensible about your space. Make sure you've got some room. Lock the kids out the room if you can. Maybe they're not up yet, I don't know. Are kids up at this time? Probably, depends on their age. Just so that we stay safe. Now, any of the techniques that I perform that you don't want to do, you don't have to do them. I do try and give options as much as possible so you can take yourself through the levels. But if you know a version of what I'm doing that you prefer, feel free. Nobody can see you, so you can do whatever you like. You might be doing this in your pants for all I know. Where are we on time? Right, I'm going to start in a moment. So I've done the disclaimer. So we're going to go through some iMoveFreely flows. Now the releases are followed by complementary strength moves. We're going to use body weight predominantly. It's just with the shoulders, that's kind of tricky. Certainly into the back of the shoulders, which is an important area. So if you've got any kind of weight resistance, a bag of bricks, kettlebell, a band, or anything like that, then morning mel, then you can use any of those. So just grab a single weight, a decent one, just to have nearby your feet. And we're going to transition from floor, sofa, weight, floor, and so on. So we're going to go through the whole flow. We're going to do some mobility work as well in the middle. And then we're going to do a kind of a yogi type flow at the end. That is just to enjoy the movement that we are able to do. So again, if you can't mirror exactly what I'm doing, please don't worry, we're all built and designed differently. So it's just about enjoying movement. And that I want is to be the focus for today, taking us into the weekend. So if we're ready, I'm just going to check if there's any questions, no questions. So if we're ready, I'm going to ask you to move back to your mats. And if you just take a lie down, you should be able to hear me okay through my mic. And I just want you to start nice and relaxed. Okay, so from here we're going to start with that 4 sign hip release. So if we cross the right ankle over the left knee, just relax the body. And then the movement we're going to think about is rotation. But what we're going to do is we're going to do that statically. So we add the hand onto the inside of the knee to apply some resistance so that when your hip rotates, you stop the knee from lifting with your hand. Now we're only going to rotate, if you remember, with 20% of our maximum effort. And we're going to hold it there for 20 seconds. So these muscle energy techniques are really great for calming the system down, releasing off pelvic muscles, and they give us an opportunity just to get grounded into this session. Some nice deep breaths as we do that. And the 20% is usually the bit that people find hard to get in the beginning. So just take the leg down. We'll do that again. We're going to do 4 on each side. So again, just relax. Think about internal rotation of that hip. The hand is just stopping. The hand's not pushing. It's just resisting that motion. And the hip muscles only want to be going at about the 20% of that maximum effort. So you imagine 100% or as hard as you can. Halved and halved again. It's a very low level. It's kind of hard to believe, even though I've been doing this for many years now, how amazing such a low level technique can be. Just take some deep breaths, take a calm moment, and then take it back down. So it's around about 20 seconds or thereabouts. Don't have to be too precise. It's more about submaximal endurance holding, so it's just that creating that energy, low level energy, coaxing the muscle out of sleep, I guess, for some of us. It's a great way actually to prepare for an early morning, more energetic session if anyone's going on a walk or a bike ride. And then take that down. We're going to do 1 more on this side. So you may or may not feel slightly looser on that side. I get quite a quick response, because I've been doing this a while. Sometimes some people are not sure because it's new. I know Sarah was asking about it before. But if you try and just take it as a very calming level, low level, calming of the system. So we don't need to be bracing too hard. Just want you to relax. And then we're going to change sides. So we're going to do the same technique each time on both sides of the body. And you may feel that one hip feels slightly stiffer than another. That's common. And our lifestyles are usually slightly asymmetrical in the way we do things, carrying and moving around. Take some deep breaths. So we always follow the muscle release techniques. If we take that down and second repetition, with a bit of movement and a bit of loading, i.e. strength. We're going to use body weight today. And the idea being that once you've released the muscle, we want to work it a little bit. But whereas in Mel's classes where she's doing some really sort of more hardcore strength training, which is fantastic, what we want to do at this point in preparation for Mel's sessions is just calm the system down, enjoy and feel the movement so that when you go to Mel's strength sessions, then the body's really ready, it's nicely aligned, change, bring it back. Or even in Fiona's sessions, she uses body weight, maybe slightly heavier than some of the stuff that I'm doing here. And certainly before Michelle's cycling and Sophie's yoga. So they all kind of complement each other really nicely as a series of weekly exercises. So I don't know if you've tried them all. I suggest you have a look at the schedule, keep your eye out and try some different ones this week or next week. I've lost count now. I do that, I talk too much. Take it back down. And I think this is our fourth one. So once we've released the rotators within the hip, as I've said previously in my previous videos, common area that gets missed is the inside of the thigh, the adductors, in terms of strength. And research tells us we should have a ratio of 1:1. So your strength of taking your leg away from the body should be the same as bringing the leg back in. So just bring the toes together, and level 1 is just dropping the knees out. So it's the weight of the legs that are going into the adductor muscles. And we're going to try and keep the spine nice and still, keep a natural lumbar curve. If that one feels a little easy, we can make it harder by lifting the feet away from the floor, which is going to make your spine flexors or your abdominal muscles just kick in a little bit, but predominantly the hip flexors and adductors as well, which is what we want to do. And again, if that needs a little bit more weight, then you can take the legs longer, point or flex the foot or anything in between, I don't mind. If you're wearing shoes, trainers, that's okay, but you're going to add a tiny bit of extra weight on the end, which may or may not be favourable. And again, I like to play with speed. Sometimes slowing it right down actually makes the load just feel a little bit harder and longer, which just kind of stresses in a good way those adductor muscles. That's what we want. And then from there, we're going to bring the legs in. You're going to rotate to me, roll onto your side, take the elbow underneath the body, underneath the shoulder, open up the hip, and then your level 1 for the opposing muscles, which is the abductors. So the bottom hip abductors are lifting my body away from the floor. So that's your level 1, and you can stick there. Your level 2 would be to lift the top leg as well. And so you're working the top abductor. And your level 3 is with a longer lever at the top. And we do around about 12 to 15 repetitions. You're going to probably feel this a little bit in the shoulder, so make sure the shoulder stays down away from the ears. And if you feel like doing a star shape, I just like how that feels. And then of course we're going to roll and do the same on the other side. I'm going to flip sides. You can roll back to the camera if you want. And then from here you can start with level 1. You can do it like me and just progress through if you like to. Level 2. And again, keep that shoulder down. Of course, we're going to be working the underside of the trunk as well, so there's multiple benefits to some of these techniques. And then you've got your side stars. I like side stars. That's the dancer in me. Oh. 12 to 15 repetitions, and you should be feeling that in the outside of the hip. I'm shaking a little bit here. Fantastic. So we're going to do another round. So take a lie back. Slightly on an angle, and then you can remember you can leave your feet down, or you can have the bent knee position, or you can take the long leg position. You could slow it down to really load up those adductors. If you just do a couple of slow ones, just try it out, guys, and see what I mean by that. It's also a nice hip opener. So in terms of mobility and range after those releases, I think that one feels great. Don't worry if your range is less than mine. You just go and enjoy and feel what your hip does. And over the weeks, hopefully we get more comfortable, or we enjoy more range, and feel a bit stronger through those hip muscles. Okay, then you're going to come back to me, side stars, choose your level, and then we come up and down. Now breathing, I don't always coach a timing on the breathing. I don't want people to think too much about that, but you might find you get a rhythm, and the rhythm of the breath helps you in terms of your reps as you perform them. And then we're going to turn over to the other side. Side stars. So this is our first flow. So if you haven't done iMoveFreely before, what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to wind back, do another muscle release on a different part of the body. And that's kind of the flow, is release and strengthen opposing muscles. It's getting warm in here. Could be my ring light. And then come back down. Whew. All right, we're going to have a lie back down. And then our second release is on the hip extensor. So just bring the knees towards you, lace the fingers behind, lower the legs, relax the knees. From here, I want you to press your thighs into your hands with only 20% effort coming from your bottom. So your hip extensors, we want to engage them very subtly. So just take some breaths and try and think about those muscles and about only contracting them about 20% of your effort. Most people usually go a little bit hard to begin with if they're first learning this one. And then release. And then do that again. So we get this ebb and flow through iMoveFreely, which is quite nice, particularly for beginners, so they're not feeling too intimidated about having to keep going with some of the strength stuff. And it gives you that ebb and flow just to pull back in between, and then we again load up the body. So again, we're going to do 20% effort, 20 seconds, 4 reps. And what you'll notice is we're able to do both hips at the same time. There's no reason why in your own time you can't do these individually. But just to be able to get more in, we're going to do both together. So 4th rep. And breathe. And my music today is the birds singing outside. So as I say to everybody with these sessions, if you want to have some music on in the background, feel free, but I think most people enjoy the birds and the quiet. Okay, so we now want to work the opposing muscles at the front of the hip. So your level 1 is your toe tap. And again, what you're trying to do, you can just put your fingertips under the lumbar spine, is keep the spine as still as you can. Level 2 is to take the legs in a cycling action while controlling the trunk. So those hip flexors are taking the load of the full leg, and your level 3 are the scissor kicks. Kicks might sound a bit aggressive, but scissor floats. Let's have scissor floats. And again, you can play with the timing to really load up. And if you're playing with the timing, you're probably going to do less reps, but that doesn't matter. It's about generating a higher load this time, in opposition to what we did earlier with the leg pressing. So we're moving and strengthening in the opposite muscles. And then when you put your feet down, we're then going to work those hip extensors by bridging up. And again, you've got your level 1 here. So as you come up, you squeeze through the glutes. Nice opening through the hip. I like this one. And then your level 2 can be to just lift and alternate, taking one foot away. Now what we've got to be careful of here is that the hip doesn't drop, so we don't get a kind of a lowering because you've taken a base of support away. Your level 3 would be with a longer leg, and each time just make sure you're focusing on squeezing the butt, and we alternate. One more. And then we're going to do that flow again. So bring the knees in, hands behind, and we're going to press. And because we've done it with a double leg, we can do an extra set of the leg press. So this, for complete beginners, you can see how it fits perfectly. So if you've got any girlfriends who are not yet on the HERSPIRIT app, of course, you can tell them all about the iMoveFreely program that will prepare them for all of the other classes if they feel a little bit unsure about beginning an exercise program after they've spoken to their GP, of course. And release, and again. But also for those of you who are more athletic, if you want to put some power through the pedal on your bike sessions with Michelle, then you really will feel the benefit of doing these leg presses. We'll do one more here, and then we're going to go with those hip flexion exercises, so the toe taps, leg extension cycles, and scissor floats, wasn't it? Scissor floats I'm going to do. And again, you inadvertently here are going to be training your trunk to stay still. So where Fiona was doing a core conditioning class the other day, her session would certainly have prepared you for this type of training, or this type of training could you prepare you for her core sessions. And it's about controlling the spine. And look, I'm just going to slow it down again. So if you want to slow it down so you can focus on the control, there's just as much benefit in terms of strengthening the hip flexors. Time under tension. Okay, feet down into your bridge. So you remember your levels. Option 1. Option 2, taking the foot away. And then option 3, lengthening out the leg. And you can have your hands down, take them off, float them around. That's like the freestyle bit. Arm lines. That's the dancer in me again. Oh dear. Okay, one more. How are we doing? Okay, so we're now going to release the hip flexors. So we're coming back down on our little journey of low level intervals. So bring one leg up, and this time you're going to lift your thigh into your hand with only 20% effort coming from your hip flexor. So it's important that you don't have your leg too far away, because that's going to load the hip flexor. We want it above the hip, and then you pull the thigh, or you press the thigh up, and the hand stops at 20% for 20 seconds. And then we switch sides. And again, take some breaths. So you can see how the focus really is about release and move, release and move, rather than over sweaty. So the beauty of this is you've still got a bit of energy left for maybe one of the other sessions, maybe the housework, maybe homeschooling the kids. And so iMoveFreely is quite good for those who just need a bit of time out. A bit like some of the meditation sessions or the yoga sessions. Change again. And again, keep the hips just level and not too much effort. Take some breaths. Relax the shoulders. So I had a little walk this morning at about 5 o'clock. And normally I come back and this is the session that I'll do every morning anyway, or this kind of session or something similar. So I saved myself to do it with my HERSPIRIT tribe. Alright, let's do that again. Change sides. Who's ringing me? My phone. Anybody have one of those phones that sends you text messages? And people always think you're rude because they're talking to you and you go like that. Somebody just texts me. And release. I think we've got one more set after this. So just kind of, I like to wriggle around a little bit. I'm a bit of a fidget pants. And so even in between things and through some poses that we're going to do later on, I kind of like to wriggle around and feel my joints move. So one more time here. So you don't feel too rigid. So when you're doing some of the strength stuff, you will be coached to be more rigid and strong, and that's appropriate. Whereas here, it's kind of more of a relaxed release and flow. Change again. Okay, so if you have a sofa nearby, We're going to use the sofa for our bridges. So if you've got a sofa, if you haven't, you can carry on with the bridges here that we did earlier. If you have a sofa, it's quite a nice alternative to work the opposing muscles. So from here, it just gives you more range through the hip because we're starting from a deeper hip flexion and knee flexion. So that may or may not feel good for you, but it's another option. So I just want to give everybody options for whatever feels good for you. So you don't have to do what I'm doing. You can do the previous ones that we did on the other flow. Again, you can take one leg off to make that slightly harder for balance. Give it a good squeeze. If you take the arms overhead and hover them off the floor, that's going to be slightly less stable, so more challenging, but with both legs on the sofa. This is where everyone wishes they had one of those low sofas. And then we've got a different way of working the hip flexors. So I want you to watch first, and we're going to try this one. So from here, take the legs out, bring the knees to the chest. So it's like a V-sit. So this one is going to be more intense than the toe taps. So you can go back to the toe taps if you want, or you can try the V-sits. And again, what you're working is predominantly the hip flexors, obviously the spine flexors as well, but it's slightly more intense if you want. Legs out, bring them in. And if you don't like those, then remember you've got the scissor floats or the toe taps. Okay, so hip flexors again. Release. Whew. So we do that nice ebb and flow through the hour session. Change sides. It's also shown metabolically for the heart rate to ebb and flow is also a good way of conditioning your metabolic profile. Not just in the low levels we're doing, but also during exercise at a more intense level, which is why the HIIT classes or the circuit classes have become quite popular, based on evidence. Keep switching your legs. Sort of alternating your heart rate through all its different zones is one of the most efficient ways of improving your metabolic profile. And your metabolic profile is your body's ability to use energy. And we store energy in two ways, change sides, both fat and sugar. So fat we know we burn at the low heart rate zones, sugar we burn at the high heart rate zones. So what you're getting through the HERSPIRIT app is a fantastic metabolic class design structure through each of the series of classes. Change over. Because where this one will take you through the fat burning zones, Michelle's cycle class will take you through the higher zones and so on. And so understanding the benefits of both, because you can be a pure sugar burner, if you like all the HIIT end classes, or you can be just a sugar burner and you will store the other energy source. So there you go. I used to do gas analysis. I had a metabolic profiling business for 8 years and I found it really interesting. So there's a guy called Dr. Philip Maffetone who designed the Maffetone method, which is the same process without 8 grand of kit. So it's just simply using your heart rate zones to train. Now I've lost count, but I'm waffling again, aren't I? Okay, so you're ready for the sofa bridges. So you can slide to your sofa or you can do that here, entirely up to you. And get your bum close to the sofa if you're doing that one to really get the benefit of the deep hip flexion start, which gives you more range so that when you're coming up, you get more fuller range through the muscle, which can feel nice if you want, otherwise stay on the mat. And if you want to add the challenge, just remember harder isn't better. If it doesn't feel good for you, then take the easier options. It's really not a competition at all. And then who's looking forward to those V-sits? I find them quite intense. That's because I sit at a desk. So my hip flexors really do need them. So sliding back, you've got the option of the toe taps. Or if you want to go for it, we've got the V-sits. I can't talk to you through those. I'm going to let you keep going on those. So yeah, do 4 more for me, please. How are we doing on time? We're good. Okay, we're now going to glide. So you can do this sitting like I did in the previous video, I think it was the first video, or we can go to the sofa, because what we're going to do, I'd like to transition from sitting to standing. So if you're on the floor, you've just got a different, a bigger change. So from here, just take the feet wide, arms out to the side, and we're just going to glide, and you're going to try and keep the hips still. So in other words, we're trying not to sort of parachute. So push the feet down. The idea is we're mobilising the lumbar spine. So there's tiny muscles in the lumbar spine that we want to release. There's a little muscle called QL, quadratus lumborum, that often gets a bit gnarly because we sit quite a bit. So I don't want you to try and get big range. I want you to just glide side to side, just a couple of inches, and really try and take your mind to the muscle in terms of the release. And then we're going to load it using a windmill. Now I call these a windmill. I'm not sure if Caroline or Soph would call them a triangle, I think. So you're going to come to standing, take the feet wide, and then turn one toe out, arms out to the side. Now to load those muscles, I'd like you to rib shift, and I want you to only go as far as you feel comfortable. So if that's your limit, stay there. If you want, you can go further, and we're loading that muscle with the body weight. So the arm going over the top is going to load it even more, as you can hear in my voice. And then we're going to slowly come up, turn that toe in, turn the opposite toe out. And again, on this technique, we are using speed. So I want you to go nice and slow. So we're loading that top QL muscle. Arm goes over the top, legs, whoop, legs, trying to do two things at once. And then we're going to change. We're going to do one more on each side. Turn the toe out. So straight through the legs, rib shift, so like you're reaching across, so you're really moving that muscle now, and then we load it with the body weight. You can take the arm over the top, put extra load, and then slowly brace as you come back up. Turn the toe, other side. Now if this is uncomfortable, just stop at the point. You can stop here, this is fine, then that's enough for you, stay there. Only go further if you feel okay. Take a seat, we're going to do that one more time. Arms out and glide. And again, we're trying not to side bend. We want to just imagine your ribs gliding over the hip bones. Yeah, just a few inches. It isn't about big range, as I said earlier, it's just about kind of moving the muscle so that we release it. It's like a proprioceptive stimulation of that muscle. We do about 8 reps, so 1, 2, good. And then when you've done 8, we come up. We're going to go the other way first this time. So legs out nice and wide. Turn the other toe out. Arms out. Rib shift. Slowly. Feel the move. Enjoy. If that's your stopping point, stay there. And then bring yourself back up and go the other side. Otherwise, we can take it further. And come back up. And then turn the toe out. Always turn the toe out so you're safe on the legs and the joints. And then if you can, slide the ribs. See if you can go further, but don't push it. If it feels uncomfortable or if it's too intense, then don't push it. But over the weeks, the idea is as we do the moves over and over, you start to feel maybe you can go further or you can hold it better or it feels more comfortable. We're going to do one more on this side and then we're going to come back to the floor. So the ebb and flow of iMoveFreely. Brilliant. All right, back down. Where are we going next? Oh, we're going pec minor. So those muscles in the front of the chest. We're going to do this one lying down, and then we're going to use the weight. So if you've got your weight handy or a band. So the muscles in the front of the chest that give us the round shoulder posture, they're the ones we want to release. So place your hand onto the opposite shoulder and you're going to push your shoulder into your hand, 20% effort, and hold for 20 seconds. So the opposite arm, elbow points up, so you've got the resistance in the right direction, and then you're pressing and the hand is holding the shoulder down. So again, just take some deep breaths. I find those windmills quite intense on the side of the muscle, and again that's because I sit quite a bit in my job. And so my lower back area does tend to get stiff and the hip flexors. So they're good techniques for me, which is why I practice them regularly. So change sides, Relax the shoulder back, press the hand in the front, and then press your shoulder against the hand. Try and focus on that 20% again. And I want you to imagine this one is fantastic for giving you more breathing space. So with a round shoulder posture, it's going to limit your ribs' ability to expand. So when you're doing anything that requires a big deep breath, it can feel stiff or tight. Change sides. So again, these techniques can often be slightly disbelieving. I know you can ask any of the guys, Mal, who's done these for some time. We've worked with her for a number of years. With her cycling, so particularly cycling is that kind of round-shouldered sport. And so she can tell you her own experience of them. You know, if you trust them and try them, hopefully you will feel the same experience. It just takes a little bit of getting used to if you're not familiar with these kind of techniques. And then change again. They actually originate from rehabilitation, but they're really good as prehab, so preparation for movement, which is what we're using them for here. So again, we've got this calming phase before we work into the back of the shoulder with our weight. Change again. So I think this is our third repetition, and each time, just every time you perform it, just let the shoulders relax back before you engage again. And then change for our last round. So what I'd recommend is that you try at least the releases periodically throughout the day, particularly if you need half an hour to yourself, particularly if you're stuck in the house and all you're getting is your walk and some of these classes. Just make sure that you do a few of these releases, maybe not the strength work, but certainly the releases. There is no harm in doing them 4, 5, 6 times a day. The Formula 1 guys that we work with, Mika Hakkinen and those guys, they were doing them 15 times a day. But they were doing an intense sport, of course. So we're going to come up to standing, so just take care. I usually rock off the back, and then find yourself near a sofa. Now if you've got a band, you can put it around the bottom of the knees, the feet, and then from here you're just going to pull the shoulder blades back with a nice stiff spine. If you've got a weight, then you can do one arm at a time. We're going to do 8 reps on each side. If you've got the band, you're going to do 16 reps. And then from here, or if you've got a bottle, you can do it here. And then obviously when you've done a set on one side, if you're doing single arm, then you go to the other side and pull back. Just to repeat with the band, if those of you have got the band, if you take your feet wider, it's going to be harder. And you can hold and then release slowly for the eccentric. You can make it harder by wrapping the hands around, pull back and down, and release. And again, using the speed on these I quite like. So nice and slow, because we want those shoulders to have the ability to hold your body back. How are we doing out there? Okay, so we're going to take a sit back down, and then from here we're going to release the upper traps, but we're going to mobilise the median nerve at the same time. So you're going to take your head away. We're going to first do the upper trap release, then we're going to add the median nerve. Take the opposite hand over the head, and you're going to lift your head into your hand with 20% effort from that upper trap muscle. With the shoulder down and relaxed, you're going to externally rotate the arm, your kind of wrist is extended back. You're going to find your point of tension and then take it off. And at the same time, you're applying the 20% at the neck. And so this combined neural conditioning technique with the muscle energy technique is great for releasing the upper body, the neck and the shoulders. And then we're going to switch, hand over the top, lift the head into the hand, 20% effort, and then we find the tension, release the tension. Now if you're getting further than me on the arm, that's okay. If you're not feeling the tension, then maybe you have a nice mobile median nerve, don't worry. If you're up here, that's fine. Again, because of my desk work, I feel the tension down here. And then we change. And you'll notice with the arm, it's a very slow, we want to glide the nerve underneath the muscles and around the joints slowly, because nerves can get kind of irritated and annoyed. And so what we're doing here is a very slow gliding mobilization of the nerve. We'll switch again, do another one here. Okay, so we now want to work the scapular depressors. So the ones we've just released are the ones that pull the shoulder up. So just using body weight, bring the feet close for an easier option to start. Shoulders back, and then you're going to push the shoulder blades down so that your bottom just lifts off the floor. And we're strengthening the shoulders down. What you can do is take 1 foot away for another level. Obviously you can make it harder with a longer leg, or we can use the chair or the sofa. So if you want to try the sofa, shoulders back and down, slide the bottom off, and then you can lower your body between your shoulders. And breathing through it. And it really is to let the shoulders come all the way up and then squeeze them back and down. So after we've done those neck and median nerve releases, this is again a good way to really strengthen down the back of the body, back of the shoulder. Fabulous. Okay, how are we feeling? We're going to come back to the mat and we're going to do a sciatic nerve mobilisation. Now you've got a couple of options. I'm going to do the roll back, so you might want to watch this one first. So the nervous system runs down the back of the body. If you can get in this position, and then we're just going to float the legs slowly. So a bit like we just did in the arm, adding and releasing tension to move the sciatic nerve, and just do about 8 reps on each leg. So that would be 1, 2. If you don't like that position, you can come to sitting, bend one leg, hands behind, and then just roll down. And then what we can do here is just move the foot in and out to give yourself the tension. Now the tension you might feel in your calf, your back, your hamstring, your bum, but it shouldn't be uncomfortable. So I want you to find the beginning of the tension and then take it off, add it on and take it off. And then obviously if you're on the sitting one, you would swap sides to add and release tension. And again, nice and slow, we're just gliding the nerve. Now this is not a cure for sciatica, so please hear what I'm saying. This is just an exercise to hopefully reduce the chances of us getting sciatica. So if you've had sciatica, maybe avoid this one, please. See a therapist. Otherwise, we'll have another go. So do you want to do another set? So just come out of it first. And I'm just going to give you another option. And I just play around with positions. Hands behind the back. And then you can just paddle the feet slowly to move the nerve. And it doesn't matter if your hips are rocking. If you're feeling the tension, add and release. Nice and slow. And again, just breathe into it. And we're just letting that nervous system know that it's okay to let the body go into certain ranges. And you might feel you can get a little bit further as you do that. Good. All right. So we're going to do some spine mobility now. So I'm going to get you to lie back down. I'm going to go through a flow of the joint mobilisation work. Now this is, again, smaller range than you might be familiar with in other classes. It's just different. I'm going to really focus movement through specific areas. So to begin with, I'd like you to focus on pelvic tilts. So arching and flexing the lumbar spine gently through a small range, because motion is lotion. It's just about lubricating the joints, just getting the body to feel those moves. And sometimes people can feel in the extension position that it's quite tender. Don't force that. No movement should be uncomfortable. We're just enjoying moving around. And we do around about 8 repetitions. So once down and up is 1 rep. And as I say, you could do these watching the news or whilst you're talking to the other half. I don't know, in the evening, you can lie on the floor instead of sitting on the sofa. We're now going to take the arms out, bring the knees and feet together, and we're going to rotate through the lumbar spine. So the idea here is to keep your shoulders down. Top foot's going to come away from the floor. Bottom foot is going to tip onto the outside, as you'll see, of the foot. And the important factor is to keep the knees together. So we're not trying to go as far as we can, because as the knees slide, you've lost the momentum coming from the lumbar spine. It's going into the hip. So we want to really focus on just a rocking action, maybe only about 5 to 10 inches, side to side, just again to gently move the joint. And this is kind of the action that happens at the spine when you go walking, which is why walking is so good for people who have back issues. There's a nice kind of rotation going on as you walk. It comes from the hips as the legs swing through a gait. All right, so relax in the middle, and then we're going to bring one knee up above the hip, and we're going to start to encourage flexion of the spine. So you push the leg away, and the hip muscles, the back of that hip, are going to pull you into flexion, and then lie you back down. So we're trying not to use the abdominal muscles to improve spine mobility through flexion, and then let it go and change. So you're just going to switch and do around about 8 reps. Feel that nice length down the back of the spine. You can tuck the chin in. And you can actually do this with both legs. It's just if you can balance on your spine. I've got a bony spine, so it may feel uncomfortable doing it that way, but you can do. And then take the feet down and apart. Lace the fingers above the chest. And then from here, keep the hips nice and still. And we're going to start to rock on the back of the upper body and rotate the upper body. So I keep the nose level with my thumbs. So you kind of got that eye line. Elbows locked, wrists locked. And then, as we did previously, I like to kind of rock through different planes of that transverse plane. So higher and lower, rather than just through a single line of rotation, because we move through all sorts of planes. We don't move through single planes in natural function. Okay, so we're now going to get our flow on, crew. So you'll recognise some of these moves from yoga, and I just go through moves. I kind of make it up as I go along, and I recommend you do the same. Maybe pick up some ideas from some of the other classes, Sophie's session certainly. I just want you to first of all come into prone kneeling, and again you'll be familiar, possibly some of you, with cat-cow. So we want to flex and extend. And I usually have a little wiggle, a little bum wiggle, and just enjoy feeling the moves. Shoulders back and down from those releases and the strength work. Let's just do one more. And you can breathe through each of these positions. Take a sit back, and then I anchor the hands on the knees and do a little bit of a flexion pull. So just pulling the body back. And then as you slide forwards into a child's pose, sitting back, slide one hand underneath and reach. So you're feeling rotation, shoulder stretch on that bottom arm, and obviously through the top arm. And then we switch, and you're sliding, and I'm just going to wiggle the hips a little, so they're feeling that position as well. Hands down. I can hear my puppy is awake outside. So tuck the toes under. Bring yourself up and back into down dog position, and then just pedal the feet and just adjust. And again, I just kind of like a little wriggle here, and then come up onto the toes and see if you can flow through the hips and the spine, and then back again, and just kind of get your own flow on, kind of wriggle around a little bit, and then onto the toes, and then each vertebrae, the spine, all the way down into a back bend or up dog. And then let's do that again. Come back, down dog. So take your back foot forwards, reach up, and I kind of just deepen that kind of lunge. Take the opposite arm down, just take a look to the ceiling. Just move slowly, guys. If this is enough for you, or if you need to put the back leg down, just kind of, it doesn't matter how pretty it is. I just want you to feel different positions. How about, can you try this one? Do you want to try this one? I used to find this impossible a few years ago. So can you grab that back leg? And then again, just I like to kind of wriggle through these positions. If you can't stay in your lunge, enjoy that position. Step back and then change. And again, we start with that lunging position. If you lose your balance, just put your back leg down. And if you can, just open up through the chest, knee down or up. No, there's no perfect. It's just literally your body feeling your positions and your moves. Again, if you can, take the back toe somewhere. As I say, a couple of years ago I couldn't do that. I was kind of like clutching it. And then again, just wriggling around in those positions. All right, let's bring it back. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to get you into a kind of a hanging position. So with your toes pointing towards your camera, just hang, guys. Just literally let the back of the body hang in space. And then bring your hips down and see how you feel in your caveman. If you're here, that's okay. If you need to put one leg down and just feel the hip here, that's okay as well. And again, everyone's designed and built differently. And if you can push the knees out, play around with that position. And then hands down, we're going to step the feet out a little bit. And then from here, just kind of gently take the legs out. Now, if you're here, that's okay, if you can't reach the floor. Or you can turn and put your hands onto the sofa, if that's going to be easier for you here. Otherwise, we're going to try and open up the hip and just kind of glide side to side. Kind of animalistic. And just enjoying feeling movement. And then you've got comparisons over the weeks. And then just walk the feet in. And then let the knees come down. And relax. Woo! That was good. I enjoyed that. I hope you did. So I'm just going to come over, see if we've got any questions. So you can grab a drink if you want, and then take your phone and let me know if you have any questions. I've got a whole bunch of texts came in whilst I was doing that. Let me just get rid of those. Lisa, no problem. A Little Monsters. Okay. Trap release. Yeah, it's a great one. I like that one as well. So what I want to encourage you all to do is feedback, particularly those who, I can see there's 14 in, and I know there's 14 who haven't posted, and that's fine. So even the quiet guys, what would really help the coaches, help us immensely, is knowing who you are, what you enjoy, what you want more of, you know, what is inspiring you in terms of the whole application, but also these classes. So what you have available to you is online. You have full access to a set of really smart, fully qualified coaches in a whole plethora of mind, body and fuel skill sets. So please do make sure that you let us know. So you can private message any of the coaches and ask us any direct questions. So please direct message me privately if you want to have a confidential conversation. Then you're very welcome to do that. And let us know, how are you getting on? Are you feeling better after the first week? The same? Are you not challenged? So we've got some comments coming through. So Kay, really needed these exercises. I run but sit at desk. Yeah, same here. So I have weak glutes. I would normally stretch for this amount of time. So they're really helping. Fantastic. Sarah, still a bit cronky. And a cronky, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a bit cronky. It's about, Sarah, what I want to try and help people understand is, let's not compare ourselves to anybody else. Let's enjoy our own body, our own skin, our own design, because something to be aware of, if you're not already. I'm just going to bring my friend in for a second. What I know Mel and Holly are really passionate about is helping women understand that we're all different, we're all designed differently. So to try and be like somebody else is probably not appropriate. Your hip design may be different to mine. So the way your shoulder sits in the socket, my shoulder sockets are horrendous geometry. My genetic design is not great. And so let's just embrace what we have, enjoy maybe our cronky movements, and then what we're trying to do is see if we can enjoy them more and more and feel healthier and stronger as we go through each of these workouts. Brilliant. Thanks, Holly. So what else? Yeah, number one, tell all your friends. We have had a massive influx over the last week of new members, but we need more. The more there are, the more love we can spread about the enjoyment of enjoying movement, being healthy. We're all in this limited environment right now, but we can still do it. Look at us all. We're here doing classes on a regular basis. Some of you are doing all of them. I think Mel and Holly have done every single one, being exhausted by the end of it. But what a great opportunity to find a gym in your own home. How fantastic. So it's all about movement. It's about enjoying movement. It's about fueling movement. So check into some of the nutrition advice, the fueling advice, and don't forget the mindset. I think we're all on a Kubler-Ross curve of change journey. So you're familiar with the Kubler-Ross curve. Stage 1, shock, numbness, denial. We're all told we're staying in. Fear, anger, depression. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Accept, move on. You've got the HERSPIRIT app team here fighting your corner to keep you fit, healthy, active, and positive. So I think that's about all for now. So I'm going to finish with hashtag together. We've got this. See you on the next one. Take care. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.